And now from the Flat Earth Capital,
Flat Earth Radio, live from the Flat Earth Capital. This is the Shadow Effects Show.
and now from the Flat Earth Capital,
Flat Earth Radio, live from the Flat Earth Capital. This is the Shadow Effects Show.
Flat Earth Radio is proud to present the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark. Microphone check. Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. Microphone check, 1 2. Hey, it's working. What's going on out there? I want to apologize for not appearing yesterday on Monday, but you see, we had some technical difficulties, and you know what's going on is we're working this new system, and we're changing some software. We're switching around a few things so that we can obtain a better broadcast, and one that has a better latency with what we're doing on YouTube. And I spent most of the day, I spent most of the day yesterday working with some of the other engineers at the station here, and we're basically rebuilding the board. So once again, sorry about that, but we're here now. How's everybody doing out there? What's up? And this is the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark, and I'm your host, Rick Lowtech. Don't know where Mark is yet, but we'll find the guy. What do you think? Let's take a look. Mark is out there. We're coming for you, buddy. So get ready to sign in. And until that moment, I'd like to remind you that this is the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark. And this is FERlive.com, the ferret. Welcome. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, hey, it's great to know you're out there. Wonderful to finally, get a chance to get a look at the hosts, to have the hosts get a look at you. Yeah, it's a two-way camera that I'm using right now, so I can see you. Put your pants on, man. I mean, come on. That's disrespectful. But anyway, how's it going out there? Wonderful to know that you're there. This is one thing that we're going to do today is we're going to have a talk. we're going to have a long talk about this wall thing. The president's wall. You guys got to be joking about that, right? No, let's not make this a long talk. Let's make it a short talk, because I only want to say this, okay? So you build this wall. Say you build the wall. Now you got this big, cool, giant wall. But if you look back behind you there, you'll see that you've noticed that you've left the door open, okay? Because I want you to know, friends, that nobody goes over the wall anymore. None of those illegals go. Very few of them. They're not when there's another way to do it. Just instead of going over the wall on the borders between Mexico and the United States, all you have to do is walk into the office of the nearest U.S. Department of Immigration and Naturalization and file an application. And hey, you know what? That sounds like a song. Go to the U.S. Department of Immigration and Naturalization, file an application, and you'll be an American before you know it. Friends, they don't climb over the wall no more, man. You want to build this, what is they got collected for this wall now? $17 million. I say to the president, I say, hey, President, that's a cool idea you had about a GoFundMe account. Now, why don't you go start a GoFundMe account for hungry kids? Let's go start a GoFundMe account for the children in Gaza. Redeem my belief and my faith in humanity, President Trump. Start a GoFundMe account and cause all these numbnuts who went out there and gave money to this thing to build a wall, and tell them to go and instead of building the wall, Go up there and feed some hungry children. Send some water wells to a third world country, or, pardon my low volume there. Send some wells to a third world country, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Let's not worry all the time about what the president says, especially when he's wrong. Especially when he's wrong. And you cannot honestly believe that this man is right when he's suggesting that a wall between the two countries is the answer, when the United States Immigration and Naturalization Department is an unlocked door. It's a hole in the wall. This is totally asinine. Just wanted to let you know. But we're going to talk about some flat earth today. At least I think so anyway. Let's see who's on. Where you at? Where's Mark? I don't see where he's at here. We got some. Oh, by the way, I want to tell you about our new show coming up. Starting on Mondays at 5 o'clock p.m. Central or Pacific time, 7 Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern time. Look for Hunting the Flat Earth with Randy and Craig. You're going to love this show, friends. It's kind of like our version of a reality program. You need to understand that Randy and Craig are not flat earthers. Actually, they're not round earthers either. They are genuine researchers. They're not sure what the hell's up, whether the earth is round or flat or what. Just sort of like many of us, We're not really certain either, are we? So we went out and we found Randy and Craig, who was coming up in this thing as well, just like you are. They were just asking all the questions and wondering which one of us is crazy. Those of us who believe the earth is flat, those of us who believe the earth is round, those of us who don't really give a shit. I don't know. But I thought, hey, instead of holding teaching programs and trying to teach people, let's try this. Okay, let's back up for a moment and let's look at this thing the same way that we did when we first got into this. I came into a flat earth oriented Facebook group one day, going to get some laughs, going to ridicule all the flat earth believers. But along the way, one of them, Mark Hollander, my partner, said, look at this. I mean, look at this. He said, no, he didn't say, look at this. He said, look at this. Look at this flat earth thing, would you? And that's what we offer all of you to do. Look at this flat earth thing. Don't laugh at it first. Friends, the Bible says that to laugh or to judge a thing before you even look at it is folly. And that is so true. If you do, I had a friend today, not he's a friend, a guy that messaged me on Facebook, and he said, you guys aren't really serious about this flat earth thing, are you? And I said, well, have you actually looked at the flat earth? He said, no, the earth is round. I said, you know how foolish you sound to me? At least I had the sanity to look into it. When it was demanded of me, look at it. They said, look at it. Don't take my word for it. Don't go standing out there yelling, hey, you're all screwball. Look at it. And people, that's what we're going to offer you to do right now. We're going to ask that you look at it. You look at the flat earth data. Don't believe a word that I have to say. Don't believe Mark Sargent. Don't believe Mark Hollander. Don't believe anyone that's in the flat earth community. They don't want you to believe them either. I've spoken to Mark Sargent many times, and this is what he says. Don't believe me. Look it up. And I tell you the same thing. Everybody that I know that's in the flat earth community will tell you that too. Look it up, man. What do you think, we make this stuff up? We're not a group of fiction writers here. I'm going to tell you what we are. We are a group of researchers, and we looked it up. But anyway, if you're just joining us, you're listening live to the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark. I'm your host, Rick Lowtech. Mark Hollander is somewhere. Let's see where he's at. You'll excuse me for looking over that way. I've got a computer over there. So I got a computer up here. Got a computer over there. I got a computer right here, too. Where'd you go? Hello, Mark. How's it going, buddy? Hey. Hello?
Hang on a second. I'm trying to get better transmission here. For some reason, it came on my phone and not my laptop.
I see. We're broadcasting live right now. We're going live out on Facebook. We've got your bathroom rigged with cameras, and we've had a little pod camera on your sleeve all night long, and we've been watching you. And
yeah, well, I guess you didn't really see too much.
No, we saw you and that woman together. I saw her give you that chocolate bar. What did you do with it?
Hey, for some reasons, oh, you know what it is? This Skype thing. Hang on a second. I'm trying to...
It's always a Skype thing. But anyway, say hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is my cohort, my co-partner, or my partner, Mr. Mark Hollander. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Hollander.
What's going on, buddy? I'm going to try out my backup system. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And for some reason, I'm not Skyping here with my microphone and everything. So,
well, I can hear you. You're doing fine on our end. What are you doing wrong?
Wait, you know what? My mic's not. That's, why don't we, gee whiz.
Well, come back. Try it again.
Yeah.
No hurrah.
I'm just having technical difficulty.
All right.
But yeah, you want to just give me about a minute and a half. And I thought I was set up, man, and I got some wires here that's not connected.
Okay.
And, so sorry about that, Rickster.
You're going to be, it's even worse. Your minute and a half is nearly up. What are you going to do now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good. I can hear you fine. But your half a minute is up. You've only got a minute now.
Yeah.
You should have asked for more time. It's your fault.
I don't know what it is. My Skype isn't hooked up for some reason.
All right, call back. No problem. Call back. Well, wait a minute.
Give me about 5 minutes.
Wait a second. I know what it is. I'm using two different computers here. If you're trying, what are you trying to connect on?
Well, I'm trying to get where my mic and everything's hooked up on my system. My backup system is my iPhone. My main system is my Yeti microphone, my headphones, and my laptop. And when you called, it just came out on the phone, and it didn't come. You know what I mean? It usually comes through my Skype on my laptop. So I don't know why.
See.
What the deal is. Kind of strange, actually.
All right. So I'll try you back later.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
I'll call you back.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, as things go, Skype, but see, that's the kind of stuff we're working on right now. I'm working on a system right now that will relieve us of all of that frustration. Y'all know what I mean when I say frustration. Now, in the city, I don't know what they say in the city. It's frustration or whatever, but out here, it's frustration. So without all that there frustration, that's what we want to do it without that first. All right. Anyway, here we are on Tuesday. Last time I checked, Tuesday. And I wanted to let you know about this thing I just learned about today called National Flat Earth Day. Does that blow your mind? Now, I didn't start it, but I know a guy that did, and he's contacted us here at the station and asked for a little bit of help. So we're going to run him a commercial, and we're going to charge him a whole bundle and make some money on it. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to do this pro se. And, I'm not bragging or nothing like that. I'm not blowing up the station, bragging and that, but yeah, we do a lot of that stuff. Yeah, we send our hosts to far off places and to attend conferences, and we've been known to do stuff like that here at FERlive.com. The ferret's a nice little ferret. It only bites people that it don't like. So, like I said, I very well could be persuaded to do that. But anyway, We'll try to get Mark back here any minute now. Just hang in there if you would, please. But potato chips. Don't you just love it when you're on the radio and somebody walks behind you with an open bag of potato chips? Hey, I don't care if they're beef chips. They're in a bag and they whatever. But here's what's going to happen. Remember we was talking earlier at the beginning of the show here. I was talking about this wall. And you're going to have to excuse me for this wall thing, because I just think it's the brunt of idiocy. Are you people serious? Really? You're going to wall yourself? What is this, China? Early 16th century? What is this? We're actually going to wall ourselves in and nobody thinks that's funny? Well, I got news for you. That's funny. And not funny in a type of way. Funny in a, you gotta be kidding me, right? Kind of way. You people are not serious. Hey, look, if Trump came online and said, I'm starting a new line of Trump butt plugs, I want the whole nation to get themselves one, would everybody rush down and get a Trump butt plug, I wonder? Well, the president did say to get one, Rick Lotex. Oh, come on. The president said to get one. The president said we need a wall. I guess. The president said a lot of things. But I'm going to tell you what the president didn't say. This is going to bother you, because I know this because it bothers the hell out of me. The president didn't say that the United States State Department and the Department of Nationalization and Immigration has got an open wall, or an open door, a hole in the wall. Now, you don't really think all those Somali foreigners that are inhabiting our city came in over the Mexican border, do ya? I'm going to tell you how those Somalis came into my city. They landed out there at the airport. Okay? And all their brothers and all their cousins and everybody else over there that's from Somalia with them is landing out there in the airport right now as a guest of the U.S. State Department and the Department of Nationalization and Immigration. They didn't climb over no wall. You people are standing here, you're telling me we need to stop these foreigners coming in from all over the world. Let's build a wall. But you need to build your walls around the airports, friends. That's where all of the foreigners are coming in at. Well, I'm talking about illegals. Do you realize that illegals constitute less than 2% of the total population of foreigners inside the United States? Now, there's no way to avoid sounding like a pig-headed American with what I'm about to say, friends. But my wife and I was in a grocery store this afternoon, and we were walking around, and over in one corner we heard, and over here in the other corner we heard, and on the other end behind me, this lady was yelling on the phone, and you know what? And I said to my wife, I said, Jesus, does anybody in this country speak any English anymore? Now, no. Oh, of course, I sound like some kind of Nazi by saying that, don't I? But I wonder, does anybody speak? Hey, is there anyone out there? Hello? Let me set this right now. Hello? Hello, hello? 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 Oh, is anyone out there? Hello? Is there anyone out there who speaks English? Raise your hand if you do. Because I want to know. Because when I was in that grocery store this afternoon, all I heard was foreigners. I heard one language on this side. I heard another language on that side. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the United States immigration policy, but I'm going to tell you this. When's the saturation limit going to come? When are we going to reach saturation? I'm saying this right now, friends. I'm suggesting to the whole world and everybody listening right now that the United States has reached saturation levels in the immigration thing. cut it off. Hey, and a wall ain't going to do it. Because like I said, these people who are landing, these Somalis who are, I don't know what to say. There are neighborhoods in this city where I used to drive through, and I'd see some of my black bros on this side. I'd see some Chicanos on this side. I'd see some Italians on that side, man. Now all I see in the same neighborhoods is freaking Somalis. Now you can say what you want. Now you can call me some kind of a Somali hater or whatever you want to, but I don't understand why we can't mix these neighborhoods up. I don't get why there's nothing but Somalis in these neighborhoods. There never was a time when there was nothing but blacks in these neighborhoods. Well, there was a time when there was nothing but whites in them neighborhoods, but that time is past. You know? It's no longer that way. Since when does saturation immigration be a law? And if you want to talk about in terms of saving these Somalis from themselves in their own country, since when does evacuation immigration defeat the needs of the people? At what point did they decide that all these people are so lost we can't feed them anymore? Well, let's just bring them all over to the friggin' United States and make them citizens and give them minivans and give them grocery stores and let them drive around and own everything. Who came up with that? Whose idea? Hey, I don't remember being asked. Did you? Did anybody come up to you and say, hey, do you mind if we bring all these Somalis in here? Nobody asked me that. And I think that this wall thing down in Mexico is just a smokescreen to hide the Somali thing. My city alone, Columbus, Ohio, has absorbed an inordinate amount of these Somali so-called immigration people. And these people are not here for immigration. I remember the Italians. I remember the German immigrationists, or immigrants, back in my neighborhoods when I was a kid growing up. I had a little friend. His name was Oliver, and they were straight off the boat from Germany. And his dad was so afraid of being labeled a Nazi. This is in the 1960s. That he taught his son Oliver not to ever even act like, he said, don't you ever speak your language, because he was afraid. And see, he was so interested in becoming an American. He said, we're Americans now. He was afraid that his son just wouldn't get it. He was afraid that his son would think that we're just here temporarily. But he explained to his son, we are here to be Americans now. And little Oliver grew up as an American, not a German-American immigrant, not a German living in America. Oliver is today an American. But see, these people, these Somalis, they don't seem to recognize that. They're not here to become Americans. If they were, they'd be speaking English, for one thing. You didn't hear my friend Oliver running around speaking German back in then, because they realized that, no one else speaks that. It was, for one thing, it's very rude because no one else understands what you're saying. Anyway, let's get to see what the Markster has to say. We're trying to get him in here. He's had enough time to repair his system yet. Let's see what's going on. But anyway, these Somali people are not here to become Americans. They're here to occupy the United States. Just wanted to get that out there. Hello, Mark. You there? No, he's not here yet. They're here to occupy the United States. They're not like the Mexican immigrants. Everyone's worried that the Mexican immigrants are going to take all our jobs. That's not true. But there is one thing that they're doing, that these Somalis are doing, that the Mexicans aren't doing, and that is absorbing a vast amount of all the American dollars that are earmarked for American people. Now, I understand, these people are considered Americans now, but they're not adhering to American standards. They're here, they're enjoying all the benefits of being in America, but they're not Americans. They don't give a crap. They're just like the Amish. They're supposed to be living here in the United States. They don't have to pay taxes or buy driver's license or insurance. They can use all our highways with their little buggies without insurance. They can do all this. They can own, and they can They can produce and have huge businesses, and many Amish families are multi-millionaires just because of that, because they're allowed to be here, but they're not recognized as American citizens. And I think that's what these Somalis are doing. They're absorbing all of the grace that America has to offer, and they're giving nothing in return because they're showing no symptoms of ever being Americanized. Now, their children are. You'll recall about three to 5 years ago, you'd see their children being dragged through the stores with their little, wearing their little, what do they call them, their sarats. And it used to break my heart to look out on a playground and see a poor little Somali child trying to play on the playground with the other kids, and her wearing a sarat, dragging a sarat around the playground. I mean, but now I'm starting to notice that a lot more of the Somali children are exhibiting signs of being Americanized. And I'm noticing that it's only the elders, which is to be expected, I guess. So I'm not being so hard on them now. Now that I kind of figured that it would take about 5 years before, I'm not saying that I ever considered that the older Somalis and Arab people would change, but I kind of figured that their kids would. And if for no other reason but because they're tired of being laughed at and pointed at in school. And I actually think that's the reason why they've built their own schools everywhere. I cannot imagine American people allowing an occupying force, say some country wanted to come here, live here, build schools here, build businesses here where Americans frequent these businesses, yet they're not really Americans, are they? No, not in their minds they're not. If you show me some piece of paper saying, look, they went through the first, yeah, big deal. Big deal. Here's what I want to see. I want to see your men wearing blue jeans and your women wearing dresses. I want to see you take those bed sheets off and take the curtains off. Stop shopping at JCPenney's white sale for your clothes and start acting like an American. I want to stop going into the grocery store and hearing, I want to hear English. Now, I'll tell you why, because English is what's spoken in this country. And let's just hope that that's a lesson to you, to all of the world, from Rick Lowtech. First and foremost, I am an American. I don't want to hear foreign languages being spoken in my country. I'm sorry. This isn't Europe. This is the United freaking States. Now, one would very well expect that when you go to Europe, and you go in the grocery store in Europe, you're going to hear 20 different languages all around you, and who gives a shit, right? This is Europe. But this ain't Europe. Starting to sound a little bit like Alex Jones there, ain't I, folks? Hey, maybe I shouldn't have watched so much Alex Jones in the early years, because I did, too. Oh, there's Mark now. Let's see. First thing I need to discover is, am I overmodulating? Is there anyone that's listening out there? I'm seeing that I'm getting high-level amplitude readings here, and I'm wondering, is that causing any kind of garbling or anything like that? In other words, when I do this, does your needle go to the right side and your speakers crackle? Hey, you think that's bad? You should imagine my poor wife. How would you like to spend 24 hours a day around that? And yes, I do voices too. Many of them. People asked me one time, they said, hey, do you hear voices in your head? I say, no, I hear voices, but they're not in my head. I do them myself. Bloody hell I do. What do you think about that? And if you don't like it, I'll pull your beard out right by the roots. There's always some kind of voice hanging around here. So what my wife does is that she pretends to be crazy, and that way, see, her doctor gives her choice drugs, so she doesn't have to, ooh, she might be around here. I better watch my face. But anyway, if you're just joining us, by now you should know where you're at. This is the Shadow Effect Show with Rick and Mark. I'm your host, Rick Lowtech. You know, the crazy one. I think that's the reason why Mark and I are such a good team. Doesn't it require a team of one being totally crazy and the other one being totally straight? That's Mark. I mean, I've been totally straight all my life, but that Mark is one crazy guy. You thought I meant, no, never mind that. Mark, where are you, Mark? Get on here. Hey, look, man, they don't call it the Rick and Mark show for nothing, dude. If you keep this up, I'm going to have to tell you like the president does, man. You're fired. Oh, you'll never hear a man work so hard for a joke and not even get one laugh, I'll tell you what. And especially when you consider this is supposed to be a talk show. Just imagine those of you who are just now tuning in, you're like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a talk show. This is a stand-up comedy routine, and the guy's falling flat on his face. Oh, you don't find me funny? That's only because you're not looking at the video that we're producing right now on YouTube. Going out live. Hey, what's up, all y'all people out there in YouTube? We finally made it here. To the rest of the Flat Earth community, we're not stepping on any toes. Just move over. We're here. We're on the radio, and now we're on YouTube. We're in podcasting. We're in a lot of cool things. So make sure that you keep it here, right here where you got it on the ferret. Let me see. I have to read it up here. It says flatearthradiolive.com. Okay, flatearthradiolive.com. Gotcha. Anyway, you're listening to the Shadow Effects Show. I'm your host, Rick Lowtech, looking for Mark Hollander. And if he doesn't get in here pretty soon, I'm going to start a deep conversation with myself and leave him completely out of it. And as you know, I have no issues doing that at all. I have no problems with that. Oh, wait a minute. I look over here and I see, hello, Mark, are you on?
Hey, Rick.
He's been sitting here and I've got the dial turned down all this time.
Well, I was wondering because I'm loud as hell, and I said, man, even with the volume turned all the way down, you should still be able to hear me.
Yeah, I had you turned down. See, the problem is that for some reason I have you on Skype on my second computer, and I'm running on the first, so I'm not going to be able to get your image in here today.
That's all right. You're not missing. No, actually, you're missing a lot. I shaved my beard off, man.
You did. Well, you did that last week. I think you look great without it myself, but. That's because I'm an Apache.
Someone thought I was Sean Connery, and I said, oh, God, he's 80-something years old.
I know, man. I know. You got to shave that thing off just to keep the girls from trying to jump in your car at the red light, huh?
Well, I figured that when I started seeing all the white coming, around the frontal area, I said, you know what? That's too much white. You know what I mean? It actually wasn't white. It was chrome. I don't have gray hair or white. It's chrome.
The worst.
Anyone asked me, sir, you get no? I said, no, it's just chrome, buddy. You got to buy it. It's
right.
You go to the Walmart grocery store and you can paint your hair chrome. Speaking of chrome, Google Chrome. You know where that came from, don't you?
Google Chrome. I'm not sure where Google come from, but I can sure tell you where Yahoo came from. When I was a kid, my grandpa would tell me stories that he would stand up on the hill and yell down at the church people coming out of the church on Sunday, hey, look at all you yahoos. So that indicates that they called him Yahweh. That's why he called them yahoos.
Yahoos, yes.
Yeah, so I proudly.
Like a Southern Alabama twang there. Yeah. My sister's cousin's name is Yahoo, But it sounds like kind of a Jackie Gleason, Buford T. Justice twang. You know what I mean? With a Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds.
Well, you know what?
Get that. I'm gonna get you Yahoo.
Yeah, you're a Yahoo too, ain't you? I'm a Yahoo.
Absolutely. I'm a coon ass. I'm a Cajun.
So you're a Yahoo coon ass, then.
Yeah. While you guys are, wrestling each other, we're down here trying to wrestle all these damn alligators off the road. There's so many damn. You go Highway 1 towards Grand Isle, Louisiana, towards the Gulf. You see alligators crossing the road.
Oh, yeah, I've been down there in the truck. I know.
And when it's raining, you see thousands of crawfish crossing the road. It's poor damn. I want to get out my car and put them in a sack and go boil those suckers. You know what I mean?
Crawfish or crabs?
Crawfish. Crawdads.
Now, I've seen the crabs. Those, what they call them, hermit crabs?
Crawfish, miniature lobsters.
Okay, now wait a minute. Knowing you that I could be thinking crab and you're thinking crawdad, and they're the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, crabs. It's interesting. They call Baltimore, Maryland, Crab Town, right off the Chesapeake
Well, I thought
Bay,
that was because of the, the itching. Crab
yeah,
Town.
Well, that's a sexual thing, but this is the edible thing. Anyway, they call it Crab Town, but 90% of the crabs that Baltimore gets is from New Orleans, out of Lake Pontchartrain, because the Chesapeake Bay is so polluted. You eat a crab there, you're going to get cancer or something. You know what I mean? I mean, people don't eat their crabs. But we're smart down here, Rick. We send them the male crabs. We keep the female crabs because they're more fatty on the inside, and that fat is a delicacy. That's like, it's the orange fat inside of a crab. But a crawdad, this crawfish, is, you boil a crawfish, you suck the heads, you peel the tail like a miniature lobster, and there's nothing like it, man. Crawdads. Crawfish, craydads, whatever you want to call them, but that's what the seafood capital of the world right here, man. We when we see food, we eat. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, I wanted to apologize to our listeners for for my delays, because I accidentally unplugged my internet, and so when you called me, for the beginning of the show, it came through my phone, and you couldn't hear me. The transmission wasn't coming through. It was on the LTE, you know what I mean, on the band. It wasn't on Wi-Fi. So my Wi-Fi was disconnected on my laptop. I couldn't, I had to actually take my phones off and turn everything off in order to carry on a secondary conversation with you.
So what you're doing is you are confirming that it was operator error on your part. I understand.
Well, yeah, I think I got to admit, man.
I mean, there's no doubt.
There's no
cop
doubt
to
about
it. You can't deny.
This time
operator
it's not your
error,
fault, buddy. Does that make you feel better? This time it's not your fault. It's mine.
It could quite easily be my fault at any point, because our main engineer is always telling me to keep things simple, but that's not the way I go. I've got to add things and power mics and phantom units and things like that go zzz. And
yeah, but look what we've done. Look how far that Flat Earth Radio Live has come, Rick, in only 6 months.
Oh, I am
we actually leaped
so happy
that it's an amazing transition. Right. You're seeing the growth of an embryo to turn into a child, and then we're fixing to we're crawling here in a time that we get to April. The Flat Earth New Zealand conference, we're going to be walking, and I do have some, I'm not going to post any business news for us. You and I can talk off the air, but we got some good things coming up. We have a couple of advertisers. And we'll talk that, because it's still developing.
Oh, actually, Mark, hold on a minute. I wanted you to know this. It's very apropos that you should mention that, because I have here in my hand, I sent you a copy of the 2018 FER Live Station Year-End Report. And I've just received permission from our station director to go ahead and release this out to the public. So I'm going to go with it, and this is what I want. We're not going to go through this report very in depth, but this is what I want you to hear, especially our audience. Okay, we went on the air in July, actually the last week of June, but that doesn't count. For that month of July of 2018, we had 453 listeners in 56 countries. In August. Where are we at? Okay, what comes up? In September. June, July, September. Okay, where's August? Now understand that these numbers may not seem like they're very high. But we're not talking about, broadcast radio. We're talking about internet radio. And I shouldn't have to tell you that there's a difference. We're not going to get millions of listeners. But I'm sharing this with you and the audience, because it's understandable. Or once it's understandable that we're not going to be having hundreds of thousands of listeners right off the bat, I'm going to share this with you just because I want you to see how we've grown. So we started in July. August is, where's August? Okay. July had, okay, here's August. We had 758 listeners from 64 countries. And then September, we had 766 listeners in 68 countries. And then in December, we had 1,208 listeners in 81 countries. I missed November. And we had, no, actually I didn't, did I? Did I miss? Yeah. In November, we had 1,193 listeners in 88 countries. Now, also, we have mirrors. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but we have mirrors all over the place. And some of these listeners that I'm counting right here are mirrors. So you see the exponential growth. Now, maybe I shouldn't say exponential. It's been a steady growth, not exponential. We haven't really had any jumps, any leaps and bounds, but we definitely are showing. I mean, if I had investors and I was called up in front of their office right now, and you know this, you have business acumen, right. I would definitely bring my report with me, and they would see that we started off small. We're still small, but there is a sense of growth here. You see? So we got it.
Right. Well,
We're growing.
So you put that in email form so I can print it out. That way I can represent myself.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, good. That's what I want you to do. See, this was designed for that. If when you get this report, you look in the back here toward the rear. I've also included a part with listener demographics. And here's the important part, our advertising assessment. So, yeah, I need you to look at this and get this and use this. Friends, if there's anyone listening, like I said, my boss told me to release it out there. If you want a copy of this report, just message either Mark or myself. I'll make sure you get one. This is where your station, FER Live, is going, has been, and we will continue and remain with the grace of God. Hallelujah.
Praise God. Praise God. Hey, I do have a question for you concerning a mirror. Would that represent what? When you said 1,000...
we have no way. We have no way of knowing. We have one mirror that's in Germany, and I've looked this one down, and this mirror is on a college campus. Now, understand that in Germany, it's not like the Nazis rule, but they're really tight on copyright restrictions, and and they use that to keep the flat Earth out of the people's minds. All they got to do is say, "Oh, it's copywritten." You can't have it, comrade. It's copywritten. But this is what they're doing over there, and I searched it down to a college campus. I'm not going to even say the name of the campus. I don't want to, put that out there. No, really, we don't want to do that.
Right.
But these people stay on the station night and day for 2 weeks at a time. They stay on.
Well, it might be people who lost their phones or something, and for a couple of weeks. You don't know that, do you?
Well, the indication is that. I'm just playing the
devil's advocate. I'm sorry.
The indication from an engineer's standpoint, and this is my best guess, is that it's a mirror. And basically what I'm doing with your broadcast right now is mirroring it. We're not in the same room together. I mean, heaven forbid, you couldn't stand to be in the same room with me, my God. But you see, that's the same thing that they're doing. They receive our broadcast and they send it out. That's what we think. And we have others too. Like I said, 68 different countries, 88 different countries.
88 in November.
Yes. Look at this.
That's amazing, man.
This is what we wanted. We're not just local. And in our demographics chart on the back, there's a list of all different neat little flags of all the different countries. And here's, we have Japan. We have the UK. Oh, yeah, 9% of our audience is in the UK.
That's right.
Japan? I mean, come on.
6% in Japan, I think.
45 listeners in Japan. That's amazing. India.
I want to jump on Mount Fuji right on top of it and just shout out to the world. Flat Earth Radio Live is here. We're growing, and we're never going away.
That's exactly right.
We're always going to speak the truth. We're about ultimate truth, and hallelujah, man.
Yep. Australia, as you know, Australia and New Zealand, who is lovingly termed to as Down Under. And I've always told them, you guys shouldn't cop to that. I mean, that's like the N-word, because to them, they don't like being called that. But in New Zealand, it's kind of like a pet phrase to them, Down Under.
Well,
So-
we must be down over.
Well, that's what I was going to tell him. Hey, if we're on a round planet, here, mate, here, cop this, eh? If it's true that we're on a ruddy round planet, eh? Who's to say who's down under? No, you're down under.
over.
That's right. See, all you ruddy Yanks are the ones down under, eh? Not us. Hey, Mark, you really do need to start practicing your accent. See, all you got to do is talk way loud like this, and you got it made, you know. No, not loud. No, just not loud.
Where
Higher.
I'm from, Rick, you know, the way New Orleanians talk in South Louisiana, the Thibodeaux and the Boudreaux, and they've taken the English language and they've prostituted it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even speak English down here. You know,
That's right.
You go to Lafayette, Louisiana, you don't even know.
If you want to get technical, I studied.
Write it down, sir. I don't understand a single word that's come out of your mouth, you know?
Hey, if you want to get technical, I studied linguistics, and I've learned that the entire English language is just that. It's a conglomeration of slangs made up of all the languages of the world. They really are.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. Have you ever been to Boston?
Baston, not Boston. It's
I'm
Baston.
going to tell you something. One of my good friends owns a car dealership, and
Yeah,
he
they
goes,
might as
"Hey,
well
man,
speak
let's
a
go
different
take ride in
language."
my car. Let's go real far in my car.
I know.
Let's go to the store in my car.
When I was up there, I got lost, and we were up there in the truck, and I stopped and I asked this guy, "Excuse me, can you help me with directions?" He goes, "Yeah." So you go down here to the parking lot, and you make it right. And I was like, "Excuse me, the what?
parking lot,
What is that? A store? No, the parking lot. The parking lot." I was like, "Oh, the parking lot. Yeah, that's what I said. The parking lot. You yank."
Hey Rick, I have a short story for you. In Ellsworth, Maine, you know, I was up there visiting a couple of stores. I think a Chevrolet store, which we're about 100 miles away from Acadia National Park in Maine, and Bar Harbor. I stopped. Little tourist on a bench eating popcorn, you know, eating chili with his fingers, you know what I mean? I get out of my car and say, "Hey, where is Bar Harbor?" And he looked at me like I was from alien from outer space or something. He says, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah, where's Bar Harbor?" Because oh, the harbor. Oh, Bar Harbor. You just take there, left, right there. There's the Bar Harbor. I couldn't understand what you were saying. And because, you know, I'm from Louisiana, he's from Maine. It's like two aliens from different worlds, you know what I mean? And It was great, though, man. Oh, you mean a harbor?
Hey, you know, you almost did a better Harvey Firestein than Wes did. Do a Harvey Firestein. "Hi, this is Harvey Firestein." You did that great.
I think you do it better than I do, you know?
This is Harvey.
Hey, look, I got some exciting news for you. All right.
Yeah, I need something exciting.
We no longer can play Randy Jackson's music. However, we are going to have a duet coming on our show, and this should be next week. We might have. I think he can only do it on Thursday, so maybe we can, you know, because he's going to be traveling next Friday. But we're going to have Mike Casino with Randy Jackson on our show. He's agreed to do a show
that we can play.
Randy and Mike.
That we can play.
That would be kind of awesome.
Oh yeah, we can run that. Friends, if you're listening and you don't understand, there's a copyright issue. We had Randy Jackson on as a guest about 5 months ago, and he said we could play all of his music, so we did. Immediately, we started getting people pounding on the door from his publisher. And we learned that even if the artist tells you that you have explicit permission or express permission, explicit, right?
How about express written consent?
Express written consent, right? That's what I was trying to say. Unless you have that, you still can't play the music. Even now, if the guy is on your cameras and you're recording that, you can play it live, but you cannot record it and play it back. That's the law. It's the law.
Casino's a musician as well. You did know that, no?
No, I didn't.
I'm so glad. He plays guitar and bass. He's got a band as well. And my idea
you got in good with him.
Was both of them playing music at the same time from two different locations. I think that'd be awesome.
That would be cool. And by the way, with the new software that we're about to implement, it would also be possible. and with full video too, because this software comes. I'm going to teach it to you, and wherever you're at, we're going to, you know.
Well, you know how I embellish everything. You know, you say we got 4-way broadcasting. Shit, I told Casino we got 444-way broadcasting now. And I was just jostling with them, you know, but it's amazing.
That's why I wrote the report. That's why we released the report. We want it known that we tell the truth. And like I said, hey, it's true. Amen. We don't have a 110,000 listeners, but see, we have mirrors. We have people who have found it interesting enough to put us out there and rebroadcast us. So at that point, we don't know.
Like a block, a mirror, you can compare it to like a block of listeners?
Yes.
Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes. Okay. It would be more like a listening party is you could call it that.
A block party. How's a block party? Does that sound better?
Well, the thing is, they could be running it in, I remember when I was in college, we used to have what we called the union, the college union. And in the union, they had this great big living room where you could play music, and they had record players and all that stuff. And you could tune in. And over in the corner, they had this World Brand Radio where we could tune into bootleg broadcasts. And I would assume that a college, United States colleges may not have that anymore, but they might over there. So I like to envision all these college students gathering together in the union and listening to us. And if that's the case, hello to each and every one of you. Contact us. Don't make us sit there and speculate. Let us know. We would really appreciate that.
I have an idea for a commercial for you and I, the Rick and Mark Show, which I've written a script for it. I'm not going to read on the radio, but you are going to laugh your butt off. I think it'd be a golden commercial. And we're going to pretend like we're being unfriendly with each other, but not in a bad way. You know what I mean?
You've come to the right two guys. you picked the right brothers.
That we can get off and on it. Yeah, it's like brothers.
Yeah, off and on.
The commercial is golden, and you're gonna say, Mark, we need to do this commercial. There's a cast of 2 characters. You're trying to reach me to get on the show, and I said, man, what do you want to do? Bring my mic in the shower? Dude, I'm 15 minutes late. And then we start jostling with each other. But anyway, I'm going to share it with you sometime tonight. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's I wrote a script. It only took about 30 minutes. But I just had this idea. I saw one of these old films that was on the Television, and it was comedy. I love comedy. If I put in everything, Everybody Loves Raymond, or I like to laugh. You know what I mean? Because I laugh all the time, Low Tech. You know what I mean? No one laugh. I laugh at my own jokes.
Isn't it amazing though that when a person is not like that, they call them affable. It's the opposite of what when somebody's jolly and like you and I are jocular. Are we called affable?
No, and actually we're not. That's for most people. But we actually, if we're not laughing at others, we're laughing at ourselves. You know
See,
what I mean? Because I enjoy life. I love being joyful.
Mark, I know you know this, but I don't think everyone does. I have an ancestor, and his name is Mo Howard of the Three Stooges.
Why, certainly.
Yeah, certainly.
Yes, Mo.
And Curly, that means Curly Joe, too.
Mo, Larry, I can't see. Why? I got my eyes closed.
Right. Oh, you do that good. Be careful there. It'll stick in your head. My mom always told you. My mom always used to tell me that stuff will stick in your head, boy, and you'll talk like that forever.
Hey, did y'all slap each
other? But look, I want, just let me finish. I wanted you to hear this. I wanted you to hear this. That's what my ancestor Mo always said. The sign of a true comic is one who can laugh at himself. And he's not the only one who said that. A lot of comics, a lot of great comics have said the same thing, that if you can't laugh at yourself, who are you going to laugh at,
Exactly right. And I choose to love is, 99% of my life, you know what I mean? That 1% is really bad though, you know what I mean? But the 99%, I try to walk with love. And I think, I do my little Bible reading just to enhance my mind and just kind of reignite the ignition, you know what I mean? to turn myself on in the morning with a cup of coffee. And I usually spend 20, 30 minutes alone before I do anything.
Oh,
before
yes.
I get in the shower.
Alone time is vital. Anyone listening to this,
right for the day.
Yeah. Anyone listening to this, understand what Mark just said is vital. Before you start your day, before you walk out there and hand yourself to the world, spend a few moments with yourself.
Hand yourself
Pep
to the
talk
Lord.
yourself. Tell yourself,
Yeah.
you can do this. You got this.
Absolutely.
And yourself will say, no, I can't. And you'll say, we'll meet back here again tonight. And you'll see.
That's right. Amen to that, buddy.
That's me. I'm always like, no, I don't want to.
Well, having a favorable attitude is important, though, Rick. You know what I mean? I always suggest the cup is always half full. While a lot of people who have around negative people who would blame negative people, or they just negative themselves, will always suggest that the cup is only half full.
Oh, half empty.
Half empty.
Yeah.
Where it's always half full. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you need to look at the plus side of life and don't dwell on the negatives, because the negative is just a spiritual attack from unclean spirits. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just,
Well, now as a medic, when I was a medic, we had a saying. See, there's no such thing as what that, and actually there's a test. We don't say, is the cup half full or is it cup half empty? We say, is the patient half dead or is the patient half alive?
half alive, right? That's right. It's the same. That's the same. As far as being a medic,
Right.
an ambulance driver, or being an emergency medical technician. That's what you are, right? EMT.
That is actually one of the questions that, it's not a part of the test or nothing like that, but they, a large part of of the study involves what we call clinicals, where you actually go out there and you get involved and you do the job. And in fact, my favorite was when they make you get in the back of the ambulance and your job is to do an IV while they're flying around the parking lot trying to stop you.
Right.
And you're in the back going, nobody has ever passed the test. But
Wow.
it's not really a test to see if you can handle it. It's more like a test or see if you can do it. It's more like a test to see if you can handle it. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
And one of the first clinical aspects that we do is all medics have to do a term with a nurse and a doctor in the ER. And that's the part. And it's not to teach you anything except for one reason, to find out if you're going to fall out on the floor at the first sight of blood.
Right.
Imagine
right.
you going through college, spending all that money on becoming an EMT and a medic, and you get out there and this actually happened to me, friends. The first auto accident I ever responded to, we pulled up in front and I saw everything in the blood and the glass and the screaming people. I froze. I couldn't open the door. I sat there for a minute, but I recouped. I came back and immediately the training took over. See, that's the reason why they put you into those clinical environments, so
Right.
that it doesn't shock you on your very first call. And such is life, hey? Isn't that life?
Absolutely, buddy.
Your parents try to prepare you for everything, but can they? No.
Pressure under, you know what I mean? You always they got to find out if you can overcome that initial pressure, especially when you're a rookie. You're either going to freeze, faint, but you're going to, overcome that obstacle. And
Here's
perform
another
your
one. Oh,
duties.
you'll love this one. You would assume that every sailor knows how to swim, right? A sailor. Oh, I'm a
assume.
sailor. I know how to swim. Not so. But luckily, we have a thing called boot camp where they teach you how to swim. It's very interesting how they teach you how to swim, too. They have a swimming pool that's 2 stories deep. And
Right.
you have to jump off into this thing. Sometimes they make you set in this mock-up of a helicopter, and they roll it off of the side upside down in it. and the number one thing that you have to learn is how to drown. They have these scuba divers down in the water below you, and they let you flop around up there until you actually can't flop no more. And when you go under and you think you're drowning, then they'll come up there and save you. That's how they
Wow.
teach you how to swim in the Navy. They figure
Sink or
either
swim.
sink or swim. Hallelujah. Sink or swim.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My uncle did the same thing. He grabbed me and threw me into the reservoir one day on a fishing trip. Because I told him, I said, when you going to teach me how to swim, Uncle? And he said, right now. Can you swim? Of course, when my mom found out about it, she tried to teach him how to swim too.
That's
but
too funny,
he seriously did teach me how to swim that day. I've been swimming ever since.
My question, so when you were on Nimitz, U.S. Navy, when you were, did you have some of your compadres that did not know how to swim?
Oh, no. No, everybody had gone through that same training thing and where they let you splash around. And it's like you can't really teach a person how to swim. They have to learn it on their own. I mean, that's true. So what they do is put you in the water, and pretty soon you're going to get tired of dog paddling. And they got this edge where even if you reach the edge, you can't claw your way up it. You're in that water, man. It's the scariest thing. And you see those scuba divers down there, and you're like, when you guys are going to come up and get me, man? And they'll sit down there, and I hear them talking in the lunchroom afterwards. You're up there drowning, and they're cracking up laughing down there. Look at this fool. Wow. He really kicked, didn't he?
How much water must I swallow before you come and resuscitate me?
Yep,
because
that's what they do.
I'm sure there's instances where they have to actually resuscitate your breathing.
No, those scuba divers.
You swallowed a half a gallon of water. Yeah?
No, those scuba divers down there, those are Navy SEALs. They know when you're drowning, because when you go through Navy SEAL training, you must have heard this. They actually do drown you. I mean, physically make you drown. Now, they didn't make us drown. They just made you feel like you were drowning. At any point along the way, those guys were down there and they would have took you out. But in their field training, they actually do hold you under until you freaking drowned. And then they resuscitate you. Right. And then they go, so how was that? Was it everything you expected, dude? You're like, let's go again.
The shock, they try to take the shock trauma value away from you.
I think so.
Time.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? The second time, you're more prepared for at least, that at that breaking point between conscious and unconsciousness.
You're right. Oh my gosh, the commercial. Hey, you know what? One of these days, Mark, you and I are going to actually have to have a show where we talk about the flat Earth. We're going to have to schedule that.
Yeah,
because
I have to do that the second hour, I guess. Yeah.
Take us into the commercial, man. We're 2 minutes late. Don't go nowhere. Stick around, all right? All right? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, you should know Mark and I, when we get together, man, it's like, oh, shoot. Time just flies by. But anyway, if you're just listening, just joining in, this is the Shadow Effect Show with Rick and Mark. And Rick and Mark up here blabbing. This is a flat. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. By FENewsNet.com. When most people think about a bright star in outer space, they think of a hot plasma-filled sphere like our sun. It would be inconceivable for them to believe that a star like this could ever create water. But since stars are linked to the creation of life as we know it, wouldn't it make sense that both water and light come from the stars? Researchers at Herschel Space Observatory of the European Space Agency wanted to look deeper into this. They found a protostar in the southern constellation known as Perseus. It is believed that this protostar is only 100,000 years old or less, so it is very young for a star. Surrounding the protostar is a huge cloud of dust and gas, which is responsible for creating it. The observatory used an infrared instrument to detect the chemical elements of these clouds. They discovered that the clouds were made from oxygen atoms and hydrogen atoms. If you remember high school science class, then you will know that oxygen and hydrogen are the two chemical elements that make up water. And you can't have water without these two elements. So therefore, one can only conclude that the protostar must be producing water if oxygen and hydrogen are present. And this prompted the researchers to study those atoms and see which path they take. Sure enough, it was discovered that the protostar forms water. How is this possible? Aren't stars supposed to be like 180,000 degrees Celsius? According to the theory, protostars have a north pole and south pole just like planets. These are the coldest areas of the protostar, which are about 2,000 to 3,000 degrees Celsius. While this may seem hot to us, it is actually cold for a star. It is these low temperatures that allow protostars to rapidly shoot water droplets like a jet from their pole regions. But as the droplets reach space, the extremely hot gas cloud surrounding the protostar turns the water into gas. The gas keeps moving until it eventually gets far enough away from the cloud to where the temperature is cold again. Then the gas reverses itself and turns back into water. If you consider how all the protostars in the galaxy are probably doing this same thing, this explains how outer space is consumed with oceans of water. The protostars are just constantly jetting out water that turns to gas. If you consider how all the protostars in the galaxy are probably doing this same thing, this explains how outer space is consumed with oceans of water. The protostars are just constantly jetting out water that turns to gas and then turns into water again. All this water continues to fill up outer space and make it a bigger ocean of water. Of course, we still need to convince people here on Earth that space water exists in the first place. At least for now, there is a clear explanation as to where the water comes from. Of course, we still need to convince people here on Earth that space water exists in the first place. At least for now, there is a clear explanation as to where the water comes from. NASA might admit water molecules exist in space, but they won't admit that oceans of water exist there and that our entire flat plane is surrounded by it. If someone could just make a homemade rocket and travel past the exosphere, then they could discover this for themselves and a whole lot more. For more Flat Earth news briefs, log on to FENewsNet.com, and I'm your host, Rick Lotek. Hey there, this is Flat Earth Radio Live, station production manager Rick Lotek. And I'm here to tell you about Flat Earth News Talk with Wes Stace. Only we've got him, only Flat Earth Radio Live. Join Wes Stace and Flat Earth News Talk Saturday and Sunday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and ending at 4, and then starting again at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and ending at 8 o'clock. Wes Stace with Flat Earth News Talk. Only here on Flat Earth Radio Live, The Ferret. You can catch us at FERLIVE.com. Flat Earth Radio Live. Flat Earth Expo Aotearoa, New Zealand, hosted in Auckland, April 27th and 28th, 2019. A jam-packed 2-day, 3-part event to showcase Flat Earth and related topics, such as the Antarctic Circle and lands beyond, NASA, scientism, religion exposed, the Matrix control, vaccinations, chemtrails, political globalism and the NWO, fake news and false education, astronomy untouched, weather modification, historical hoaxes, financial systems, what are UFOs and aliens, biblical cosmology, and much more. The 3 parts include Broaden Your Horizon, a VIP Flat Earthers dinner, and a Unity conference. For tickets and contact information, phone 021-028-93402 or email admin@fenzexpo.co.nz, or you can write them at their address at P.O. Box 51010, Pakuranga, Auckland, New Zealand 20010. Or you can log on to their website at www.fenzexpo.co.nz. The 2019 Flat Earth New Zealand Expo, sponsored by FENZ Trust and FERLive.com. QE 2019 is coming to Southern California, February 22nd and February 23rd, 2019. Speakers will be presenting on the hottest topics of the day. 9/11, was it an inside job? The moon landing, did we really go? Scientism, has science become another religion? CBD, what is Big Pharma hiding from us? Vaccines, are they safe or are they harming our children? And no Question Everything conference would be complete without the hottest topic on the internet today, what is the true shape of the earth? The 2019 Question Everything conference is shaping up to be like no other conference of its kind. This will be the event that people will be talking about for years to come. So get your tickets for the event and the VIP luncheon right now at QE2019.com. Southern California, February 22nd and 23rd, 2019. For additional information, go to QE2019.com. QE2019.com. And if you use promo code FEMG, you'll receive 25% off your ticket price right now. Sponsored by QE2019 and FERLive.com. www.ferlive.com. Flat Earth Radio. Flat Earth Radio that makes us see.
You may not find us on your TV because, in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by. Brought to you by RADI.
Flat Earth Radio is a production of Flat Earth Media Group.
Asking these questions that no one ever asked before because we didn't even think about this. I think it's like God's unlifting the veil, you know? He's starting to show people, look, you want to believe this? It's a lie. People are asking questions and truth is going to prevail. It's like, yeah, the biggest problem is that we're not able to eliminate questions, so therefore we can't assimilate. And, you know, we're a constant. People are asking questions and truth is going to prevail.
Join your host, Shelley Lewis, every Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 7 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Down the Rabbit Hole with Shelley Lewis.
Down the Rabbit Hole with host Shelley Lewis. Only here on Flat Earth Radio Live. The Ferret.
Thank you for listening to Flat Earth Radio. 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 And now from the Flat Earth capital. Flat Earth Radio is proud to present the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark. And welcome back to your second hour of the Shadow Effects Show with Rick and Mark. I'm your host, Rick Lowtech, and we will be back with Mark in just a few minutes. He'll be back on. And who knows, maybe we'll even talk about the Flat Earth for a change. We don't apologize for that. This is Flat Earth Radio Live. Indeed, that's true. And we very often do discuss the Flat Earth. As a matter of fact, on a regular basis. But we don't feel the need to accomplish that on a daily basis. We don't feel the need to always make it just about the Flat Earth. We hope you understand. And I want to say hello to you once again, and all you people in YouTube. welcome aboard. It's wonderful to have you. It's nice that you come by and take a look at our video production of what we do on our radio station. We are Flat Earth Radio Live, the Ferret, and we do Flat Earth, among other things. Some of the other things that we do is we do a lot of community work. We have several commercials running right now, for example, where we're talking about conferences, and they've got them all over the country, all over the world. You know, not just the country. There are Flat Earth conferences going on everywhere. And hey, by the way, I wanted to tell you this. I got wonderful news. I just heard about this today. We were contacted by a gentleman who says that he is attempting to arrange a Flat Earth International Day. Or no, excuse me, let me say that right. A National Flat Earth Day. I don't think they'll ever have an international holiday. Yeah. But they do, what they're trying to do is they're trying to organize what they're calling an International Flat Earth Day. And they have it scheduled for February 19th. And of this year, of course, not next year. February 19th, International Flat Earth Day. What a wonderful idea. I'm all for that. I said, well, let's go ahead and we'll create the guys some commercials and get on board with the event and all that stuff and start talking about it. And here's our first time for doing that. Look for more talk about it. Look for more advertising about it. And look for us to come completely on board with it, because we definitely think that there is merit for a International Flat Earth Day. We just haven't had the guts to try and start one ourselves. I guess it's because we've been too busy trying to get the station going and all that stuff. But hey, you must admit that a International Flat Earth Day is a wonderful idea. So friends, get on board with that. We'll let you know more information about that as it does come into us. All we know pretty much right now is that it's scheduled for February 19th of this year. International Flat Earth Day. Who knows what we're going to do on it? I mean, or what traditions will come out of that. And I don't suppose any traditions need come out of that at all. If all we do is stand by each other and say, hey, did you know it's International Flat Earth Day? No, I didn't. That's good enough. Just talk about it. Just tell people, did you know there's such a thing as a Flat Earth Day? And they'll probably look at you and they'll go, you mean there are so many crazy people in the world that they decided to give them a day? I could just hear my dad say that. Because that's what he would say about the flat earth. Because my dad was the kind that the Bible talks about when it says that it's folly to judge a subject before you look into it. I mean, it doesn't say it in those words, but that's basically what the idea is. That's what they're trying to say. It is too. It's folly to actually try to look into something. To avoid looking into something and laugh at it first. I mean, that's no different than the fool that walks into a hole and there's people standing there going, there's a hole, don't watch out, you'll fall in it, there's a hole, and you're going, there's a hole, and you're like, don't worry about it, I'm good, and then you fall in the hole. Don't be that caliber of fool. But anyway, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the second hour of the Shadow Effect Show with Rick and Mark. We'll try to get Mark back on here in just a moment. Mark Hollander, my friend and co-host. I think he might be on here now. Hello, Mark. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you waiting. I didn't realize they were on there. How you doing?
I wanted to take this opportunity to announce some new shows that we're going to be doing here on Flat Earth Radio Live, man. I got, Jenna Fredo is an amazing truther, her and Dave Marsh, and I really enjoy, instead of when we were growing up reading the morning papers, I like reading the morning Facebook, social media, YouTube. The stuff that Jenna Fredo puts out is absolutely amazing. Her moon photos. She is better than the National Geo magazines. She's better than all those science men. Her images of the moon and the sun, along with Dave Marsh, his knowledge of the moon, the meridian, the movements of the moon. They both are absolutely incredible. And Rick, if you want to give us a date on the F-Files that's going to be coming on shortly, I think that's going to be a much anticipated show, and their knowledge of the moon and just the sun, but especially the moon. Of course, we termed her Lunar Woman in the Moon Man. And so I'm excited about the prospects of the F-Files, along with we have other goodies in the show. We got Randy Fisher coming with Craig McCoy, brand new flat earthers. In fact, Randy's fighting it now, but Craig McCoy's his best friend. It's like Craig saying, Randy, are you crazy? Stop believing in theory science. Randy, did you see Eric Dubay? I mean, Craig is up at 2:00 in the morning every night watching videos from Mark Sargent, Eric Dubay, or, Dave Murphy or whoever, Math Powerland. He's watching them all. He's not getting any sleep. Randy says his work is suffering as a result because
I sure
Craig
hope these guys
in all dragging because he's watching videos all night, but he can't help himself.
Hey, Mark, I hope they're not wasting all that, because that's exactly what we want to see in their new program. We want to watch them go. We don't want to watch them fight and knock each other. We want to see the results of their search. We want to kind of follow behind them and see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they're going to be amazing. And I love the artwork you did with their new show, Hunting for the Flat Earth. Hunting Flat Earth. I think that's an appropriate name.
Hunting the Flat Earth.
Almost like a Confederate uniform, Randy with his, and Craig McCoy, it looks like he's just following orders from Randy. But in reality, it's actually Randy that's learning more from Craig, as opposed to, because Craig's gone down, he's jumped in the rabbit hole. Randy's sticking his hands in the rabbit hole, but Craig, he kind of just did a swan dive in the rabbit hole, and I think it's amazing.
I want to show the friends that are listening and watching us on YouTube exactly what artwork we're talking about here.
You gonna post that picture? I want to.
If you're following on YouTube, I'm going to put it up right now. And this is what we're talking about here. The newest show that we have. It's called Hunting Flat Earth. And here's what it's about: Hunting Flat Earth. And if you're on YouTube right now, you're watching. You can see the artwork. The show is going to air Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The other times are there. But and I didn't mean for the image to look like one was the leader or the other. What you see in this image here are just two guys, two badasses.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that either of those guys are the leader. I didn't mean for that. The only issue that I have was with Randy's hat. I shouldn't call it to attention, but I just couldn't get it right.
That's perfect, man. Leave it as is. He's a goofy bastard anyway. No, I'm kidding. I love Randy to death. We go back about 20 years, But
you got to admit that's a badass picture there, ain't it?
Oh, it's more than bad, man. That's my
I had a friend. I had a guy contact me and he said, "Hey, if I send you a picture, would you do that for me?" And I was like, "Man, I could make a living doing this. That's a badass picture."
I want to give an extra shout out tonight for what we started the show with Jenna Fredo, which she posted today was amazing. When she got such a close up, she's got a P900 Nikon, and apparently there's a monolith on the moon, and it's amazing the detail. You can actually see the crevice of the crater, and you can see the shadow on the top of the cliff of the crater on the moon that's casting a shadow at the bottom of the crater. It's just an amazing photo, but the monolith was amazing. They got this guy, his name is Jason. Evidently a friend of Jenna's. This is what he says: whatever that is, because I suggested it was a monolith. He goes, whatever that is, and he's got monolith in parentheses, it's really tall. If that's a large crater, then he says, then really, really tall, maybe it's Building 7, from an 9/11. He put Building 7 on the moon, you know what I mean? But he's, it's an amazing she gets amazing detail at long distances. Almost like Gianna used to state. In worlds beyond the poles, our eyes perceive everything as global, globular. But when you see it's almost like Jenna was 20 miles from the moon. Just all the details of her shots. I don't know, did you get an opportunity to see those shots today?
Yes, I did. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, does it seem like Jenna is only 20 miles from the moon? Or are we really only 20 miles from the freaking moon?
I tell you, but she's amazing. And Dave Marsh, equally so. In fact, the knowledge of the moon with Dave is just, I think Dave and Jen are just a perfect pair to work together. And I think
I do too.
Gold.
Now,
I really do.
Now, I was going to ask you, what do you make of his choice for a title, The F-Files? I mean, that's so mystic and, I don't know, just exactly what you'd expect from Brother Dave,
Well, I thought it was the Fredo Files. I don't know. You know what I mean?
No,
I was
obviously.
trying to figure it out myself. Maybe somebody needs to ask Dave that. But I think it's appropriate.
Obviously, he means flat.
The flat
or
files,
maybe we're wrong. Maybe he means the Frida Files. They're going to talk about this big fat lady named Frida. But I think it's flat. F means flat.
Yeah,
what do you think, folks?
Evidently so, yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, the new show is entitled The F Files. F is in flat. And here's what Dave does. He does the same thing that Mulder and Scully did. Basically, he is. Some people have called Dave scientist Dave Marsh. Professor Dave Marsh. I've heard all these things.
Jenna Fredo. Jenna was born with the camera in her hand.
They may not stand and bow to that title, but they could actually stand that, because if you look at what is a scientist, it's a researcher. What are they? They're researchers. And they're certainly not pseudoscientists.
No, I mean, they were taught, as we all were, we didn't crawl out from underneath a hole or something, to know what we know now, as truthers. And but to truthers, sometimes a lot of us sound like we're off kilter or something, or just, but a truth will always be a truther if they investigate, research, do the proper research, and we got to remind people that we are, spreading the truth to, that we're voicing the truth, because we should always allow people that opportunity to escape the matrix that we're all in. Is make sure you tell them never, ever, ever, ever do any research looking up the Flat Earth Society. Because if you do, then you think we're all nuts. You'll come out, you go back to the spinning ball.
I'm also very cautious too. I'm very adamant. I'm always telling people, do not, under any circumstances, associate us with the Flat Earth Society. In our neck of the woods, that's a bad word.
Oh, that's worse than MF.
If I called Mark, I said, Mark, if I said, Mark, you stupid Flat Earth Research Society dude, he'd probably hit me. Or if I said, you Flat Earth Society guy, he'd pick up a chair and throw it at me. Because that's not what we are.
Bob. Think about B.O.B. I mean, is he, going to send a camera up through the Flat Earth Society? Give me a break.
Well,
I mean,
see, I've finally come up with I've finally come up with an example. People don't get it. And this is only for football fans, okay? If you say, I love the Cincinnati Bengals, but I hate the Tigers. Wait a minute, is that who's that?
The Cleveland Browns.
The Browns. Okay, yeah. I hate the Brownies. They'll say, wait a minute, aren't you crazy? You guys are all from the same state. See, you don't get rivalries, do you? You don't get football and you don't get rivalries. Just because we're from the same state, they hate each other. Bengals and Browns fans will tank. It's a good thing that they very seldom play each other because they're in the same division, separate divisions. But
it was the same with Philadelphia Eagles and Pittsburgh Steelers. They're in the same state, but they hate one another.
They hate each other.
They
it's the same
play
thing.
Each other in different conferences.
It's not just for the sake of rivalry, though. It has a lot to do with their science. I mean, it has everything to do with their science. Their science and our science or left and right.
Hey, you remember on August the 14th when I came on the show and I made a prediction, the only time I've ever made a prediction in my life about football. I predicted that it's going to be the old men playing against each other, the old pros. Drew Brees against Tom Brady for the Patriots. And the last 4 teams left, you got the Saints, the New Orleans Saints playing the Los Angeles Rams in the Superdome for the right to go to the Super Bowl. They're going to be playing the other conferences, the Kansas City Chiefs playing the New England Patriots with Brady. So if I get this right, next week on our show, I'm going to remind everybody in our audience that the Saints against the Patriots for the Super Bowl, for the World Championship. And people in New Orleans are going crazy. It's like Mardi Gras every day with the Saints, as long as they win.
I'm going to agree with you on that one, Mark. The Saints are going to the Super Bowl. Yep, I'm going to give you that.
What about the Patriots? Tom Brady. They got to beat the young slinger for the Chiefs. What's his name? Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be a tough order. They say it's going to the Arctic cool front's coming. They play that game Sunday night in Kansas City, Rick. It's going to be 4 degrees. I mean, it is going to, it's too cold for it to snow. 4 degrees. That's amazing.
You guys don't, and you don't understand that that's going to be like an advantage to the Chiefs. I mean, to the who you playing against? That's going to be their advantage because they're used to that cold.
No, that's Kansas City playing
the
New
Chiefs,
England.
Right.
The Saints are playing in 72
now
degrees.
New England's used to playing in even colder temperatures.
Right, you're right.
And
so
yes, that is
advantage,
that's always either an advantage or a disadvantage because where I'm from in Ohio, we know that when you play Michigan and it's snowing out, we're going to lose.
Right.
Michigan in the snow, they don't give a shit. It's snowing. We're going to win. One thing we hate is losing to Michigan.
Well, we also have someone else that's going to be on. I think that would probably, it's going to be up to you actually. And someone that was with us previously, I think we'll have an opportunity to come back, and that might be a good thing for us, And one of our old, I guess Paul on a plane. We have an opportunity. If you guys, I think he'll find enough time because I think we are leading the airwaves, and we're actually at the tipmost point, the highest point in Flat Earth Radio. We're only radio stations 24/7, with live music, talk shows, news, and commercials, and soon to be advertisers. So we have a lot to look forward to.
Right. And there never was any misunderstanding with Paul on the Plane. Loved his show, loved producing his show with him, and really was quite excited to have a show of his caliber on the station with us. And it was a shame that we parted ways, but it would be excellent if we could get it back together like that again.
I think so, and I think we pray enough. I think God's showing us the way, and when you spread in love and God's love in particular, you know what I mean? People see that light and they're attracted to that light, because let's face it, folks, if you're in the dark, you're going to be running into walls. But when you're in the light, you know exactly where to go. Your path will take you the right way,
That's right.
Especially being in God's light.
That's right. And by the way, I want to remind anyone listening that if you go to our homepage, ferlive.com, and just take a glance down there at the lineup, and the first thing you'll notice is all the color and all the different faces and all the different names and all the different shows. I mean, it's really starting to look. When I talk to my station manager, he tells me all the time. He says, "I just flabbergasted. I fall out on the floor each time I look." He can't believe it. It's just, it's incredible that, and even though the number one thing that's growing. Even though it's the fact that we're getting so many people that are interested in being hosts. I mean, they come up to me all the time. Hey, I want to be on the station, all the time. And we love to have them.
Looking at Randy Fisher and Craig McCoy, it's I can remember the exuberance, the excitement that I had, and that you had when we first knew the truth about what what our feet are standing on. You know what I mean?
My
it just
neighbor
resonates your spirit. It changes your life upside down. Truth. It's like nothing like anything. And these two guys are like two children at a toy store. Mom, this is, I want this, Santa Claus, I want this, that. Because it's amazing, because I can see the joy and the happiness that God, that truth brings to people. And it does bring you closer to God. Because God is truth.
The thing is, you can't have an awakening without something being hidden. I mean, you can't have an Easter egg hunt until you hide the Easter eggs. And who among us will not admit that God, our Creator, is causing a great awakening right now? An awakening from what? An awakening from all the lies, from the untruths.
And what they're going to attack at first, I think they're going to really try to do a lot of research about the lies from NASA, the fake moon landings, and I think that's a good starting point for most people, but you got to be able to connect the rest of the dots. That NASA is part of the lies. They're the lies of the 21st century, from Copernicus in the 16th century. They're the liars from the 21st century. They bringing it to your television sets. They bringing it to you on social media. They bring it to you with these, think about what China just did. Think about it. We have these high definition convex, concave cameras with solar filters, all these lens, high powered lens, put them on a tripod. You get tremendous close up views of the moon, for instance. And China decides, well, we're going to throw everybody a curveball. We're going to go land on the dark side, or the side of the moon that we can't even verify even if it even exists. The dark side of the moon. That way you can't pan your cameras on us to show us that we're really not there. We're just hallucinating the public minds and deceiving everybody to believe in anything that they put out there. But I think that was intentional. Going to the dark side of the moon for what? Really, for what? Why would you go on the dark side of the moon? Why don't you go? Because they're hiding from us. They're in a desperate panic mode, just like the because they are the deep state. Let's face it. You want to know who the deep state is? Are the same people who run the show for NASA and all these Freemason fake space agencies. You might as well be Hollywood. I mean, it is. But think about it. Going to the other side, the dark side of the moon, so nobody can pan their cameras on them. Or high-powered telescopes. What do you think of that?
Well, remember you were talking earlier about Gennafredo and Dave Marsh. I think that they're very afraid that if they do tell everyone that they're going to go and land on the moon on this side that we can see, that people like Dave are going to go, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're bloody not.
In fact, look at the Photoshop handprint. You can see that's not even a real picture of the moon.
Exactly.
No, and
I think they're genuinely afraid of that. and they should be too.
So.
Because I think people like Gennafredo could actually spot them if they were landing, if it was real, if the moon was real. And at some point there would be a glimmer of light. Have you ever been standing outside and see a car go by? It just flashes in your eye like that. Something.
Right.
There would be, because those are supposedly metal objects down there. And all they got to do is draw this great big arrow and say, here it is. And people will go, oh. But that's not good enough.
Well, I mean, it's amazing to me.
Not when people like Jenna and Dave can get zoom-ins of the moon. I'm talking rock-sized zoom-ins of the moon. They can zoom in on almost on different structures on the moon. I've seen them do it.
It's amazing.
They can send their camera lenses down into those cones and those convex depressions in the ground. They can actually see what's at the bottom of them.
Right, and it's casting a shadow from above, which is amazing to be able to catch that.
And here's that goes back. This is exactly the reason why NASA never depicts stars in any of their images, because there are people out there who could plot stars. There are computer programs where if you, and I've seen Egyptologists do this, you can roll back time. I mean, you can actually go back in time, so to speak, because of where they say the stars are. But if that's the case, how is that possible in a universe that's ever expanding?
It's not possible.
It's not. How can the stars in Egypt continue to line up thousands, who knows how many thousands of years later, in an ever expanding universe? So if you were to, for example, if you were NASA and you were to publish some image of a star, of a star field, there are people in the world who could take that star field image and plot exactly which hemisphere or where on the planet, and I'm saying planet because this is what they say, where exactly you were taking that image from. Now, that's not possible on a planet, but on a flat Earth, that is possible. And I think that NASA knows that. They know that on a flat Earth, we could quite easily plot exactly where those pictures were taken from. And if we looked at the star field and compared them to the ground on Earth, it would not be showing that we're taking those pictures from the moon.
Right.
Somebody would raise an alarm.
Hey, did you see Shelley's post today, Shelley Lewis?
Oh, no, I've been here. I've been working on these computers all day.
Interesting, from NASA from 1957 to 1961, from Central Intelligence Agency, CIA papers, and about an aircraft landing model, equations of motion. They talk about, and I'm going to read something to you. This is interesting. Number one, equations of motion. The two-dimensional model for aircraft motion presented in this section follows the general form developed by Frost. Look at diagram 12. It accounts for both vertical and horizontal mean when components having both the spatial variations. Check this out, Rick. The aircraft trajectory model employed in this study was derived from based on the following assumptions. A, the Earth is flat and non-rotating. B, the acceleration of gravity is constant, 9.8 m/second square the second. C, air density is constant. D, the airframe is a rigid body. So this is actually the landing craft being taught, as far as landing an aircraft of some, the Earth is flat and non-rotating. Another image, this came directly from the CIA. This is one from from NASA. I got one from NASA. Hang on. Here it is. NASA. Report documentation page. This was NASA. This was in August 6, 1957. And they talk about flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. And this is at the bottom of the report under abstract, which is number 16. This report documents the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. And then the derivation makes no assumptions of references, trajectory, or vehicle symmetry. The linear system equations are derived and evaluated along a general trajectory and includes both aircraft dynamics and observation variables. This is about aircraft models, flight dynamics, flight controls, the linear models, unclassified. They actually unclassified all this material, but this came from NASA, and then the report from the CIA came out in August of 1988. So it's interesting that they released these documents, but if you don't research the documents, you never learn. You know what I mean? It's just, these are just golden eggs that's been out there. And of course, Shelley's done enough research in order to find these very fascinating documents that came either from the CIA. Here's a CIA document right here. Under a flat, motionless Earth, talking about This was classified material. This was actually 6/15/2000 approved for release. So they released it in 2000. They actually got the CIA document number and everything from the Central Intelligence Agency. So there's a lot of material out there. And of course, I think that you need to be able to look into material like this, because I really like to find out where the source is at. Because you know me, I'll try to get all the papers to see if we can find some of these other golden goose eggs. You know, I thought that Shelley Lewis's post was amazing.
I'm never ceased to be amazed at Shelley and the work that she does, especially when I was looking at one video that she did last month that received 24,000 views.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's such a credit to Flat Earth Radio Live.
Oh, yeah.
I got another snippet for you, buddy. The lead developer at Google Earth believes Earth is flat. It's beautiful. This man right here, everything in the world is theory, from black holes to the roundness of the Earth. After years of diligent study and intent work, I have concluded there is no way the world can be spherical. Given how our data at Google has never matched up to NASA's data, and given how modern technology simply cannot measure the magnitude of such a planet, we can never be guaranteed the Earth is spherical. The truth is, this idea is so ingrained in our culture that no one questions it. Well, guess what? I'm questioning it. That's what he says. This is, what's his name? Testing the Globe. I can't read his name, but he is the lead he's the lead developer at Google Earth. And he believes the Earth is flat.
Well, so do I. I mean, I may not be no lead developer at Google Earth, whoopie friggin' thing. But hey, I believe the Earth is flat myself.
I think he's probably looking for a job today, though, huh?
Yeah, more than likely. And by the way, speaking of that, you hit on nail on the head there. We need to, I need to approach Pastor Nate and see if he'll accept my apologies. And as a pastor, I'm certain that he will. Yes. But we need to get him back in here as well before he gets so busy that we'll never get him back. Because from what I hear, he's had offers from all over the place. He's had offers from a production facility to become a regular. So what a mistake getting away from him it was.
It's all right. We got to, we're always going to fall. We get back up and dust our pants off and move on and say, you know what? A lesson, we're never too old, never too wise, never too knowledgeable to always be learning. You know what I mean? We're a collective of ABLs, always be learning. And you wake up each day, because we don't have all the answers. We never will. But, when we go, you know what I mean? We go through so many different plateaus, peaks and valleys in life that, I guess we just got to try to ask God to keep us in that peak and just be loyal and faithful to Him. And I think if we're like that, Rick, then we're not going to have any more valleys. If we attack, at least we prepared to stay out of that valley and stay at the peak.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. But pushing forward, this whole NASA deal is amazing. It's an amazing time to be watching this, because I, for one, believe it's the fall of NASA that we're watching. Maybe I'm just being hopeful thinking, that kind of thing. But I don't think NASA's going to be able to get back up after this. And I actually believe that the reason for that is because that's why this whole thing was staged. This is the fall of NASA that we're looking here. It's not another government shutdown. It's actually the fall of NASA. And here's where they're going to get away with that. They're going to say, when we affected the restart up of the government, we saw that we need to cut some cheese. And
right.
NASA was the cheese. We got to take the cheese out.
Well, if they the cheese, then the cheese spread must be the IRS because they shut down as well, the Internal Revenue Service.
Well, they'll have no trouble restarting that.
No question about that.
But I've heard a lot of talk around where they're saying that SpaceX and the other program is picking up all the slack. And the way I receive that is like they're saying, this is NASA's way out the door. You know, it's like a gentle retirement. Or who knows, maybe they're going to come around and affect total disclosure and throw NASA under the bus.
As well as Fake X, because Elon Muskrat, that's what I call him, Elon Muskrat, they laid off, SpaceX laid off 10% of employees last week.
I didn't hear
So
that.
they cutting back as well.
I didn't hear that. Well, you know, his funding is from the federal government, yeah.
Sure. He's stealing money too. You know
well,
what I mean?
you can
Stealing
imagine. Imagine sitting there
steal.
with your kids telling them Daddy's got no job, but he works for the guy who put a freaking car on a spaceship and launched it into space.
Right.
But Daddy's got no job.
I think it's time to call Elon Muskrat out, don't you? If that was me that was laid off. Well, guess what? It looks so fake. It must be real because it looks so fake. You know? What a goofy thing to say, man. He must have been smoking a lot of pot before the broadcast, you know, before his...
I don't, you know, I find it hard to laugh at people like him and Silverstein when Silverstein sat up in there and he said, well, you know, we all looked at all the damage that went on that day. So many lives were lost anyway, so we said, smartest thing is just pull it. So sat back and we pulled the building and we watched it collapse. Now, you know, here's this guy sitting there saying all that shit while all these people have died under what he's saying. Oh, we just decided to pull the building, as if it's so easy. You know, oh, we could go in here and we could pull. Hey, don't fuck with us, and we're coming and pull your building. You know what I'm saying? We'll bring it down.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's almost like you have to, you know, when you are paid to lie, in essence, you're a Hollywood actor.
Well, you could just
whether
you could
work
just
for
picture
NASA or the New York City when the 9/11 towers came by, the Pentagon, you know, all these false flag attacks, you know what I mean? You almost have to be an actor in order to lie. Well, you know, this is your storybook script. Well, it hasn't happened yet, you know what I mean? But this is what we want you to say after 3,000 people perish, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, to me, that's complete insanity.
how a man could sit there and just relegate all that damage and all that horror down to something as simple as, well, just it's like a garbage can burned, and they just say, well, it's just, you know, it's just a garbage can, no problem.
But Rick, think about before we knew about 9/11, everybody, it united this nation, but the Bushes knew that. It would unite everybody from a patriotic standpoint, and will actually, you know, got half of America to hate Muslims, and let's go bomb the shit out of them. You know what I mean? These 19 terrorists, they're from Saudi Arabia, but instead, let's bomb Iraq. You know what I mean? None of it made sense. But they did it for oil money. They did it for war. War is the biggest money maker in the history of humanity, and it always will be. War.
How does it make you feel to know that they got completely away with it? One minute they're saying weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, and then about a year later they're saying, I didn't say. You remember that part where W looks over at Dick and says, what do you mean, weapons of mass destruction? I didn't say anything about weapons of mass destruction. Did you say anything about weapons of mass destruction, Dick? No, I didn't say any weapons of mass destruction, W. Did you say anything? No. And I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, but
we've got it on tape, man.
There's another theme behind all of this as well. Think about Bush, the 33rd Luciferian Freemason, just died. And those envelopes that were passed at his funeral, it seemed like it took the life out of Jeb Bush, Laura Bush, and George Bush, like he was in a coma. He was awake, but he was like in a coma. I think there's something going on that we don't know about, and I believe that W's next. A lot of people think he's next. I think this is how they're killing these people off. Military tribunals are making them die one way or the other. You know, we do know W was about, 117 years old. He was old, but I think that W is next because of the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Because Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, last year apologized to the whole world that we lied. We went to war. The Iraq War was about oil. It was lies. It was weapons of mass destruction he did not have. Never found it throughout Iraq. And now, of course, the liar's theme after the war, during the war, oh, well, Saddam must have moved the weapons of mass destruction out of the country into Syria or whatever.
Oh, no, they didn't even say that. They didn't even suggest that. They said that we didn't even mention nothing about it. Hey, Mark, by the way, you mentioned again W's dad kicked off. Some of us were miserable about that. Some of us were sad. And a lot of us were, like,
celebrate.
Let's celebrate. We had this request. This is from a couple weeks ago. I want to apologize to the guy because I forgot, but I just now remembered when Mark mentioned that. He wanted to hear a song by The Fifth Estate entitled Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. and I thought, we'll go ahead and give it to the guy. Just a little piece of it, all right? Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead.
Let's do it.
Here we go. For you, George W. Bush Sr., we're so glad.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
The Wicked Witch is dead. I guess I don't suppose most of you even thought for a minute that a man could be a witch, but that's not true. In my time, I have met many male witches, or
me too,
or
buddy.
what they call
wizards.
Wicked.
You
No.
Wizards.
No. Wait. There are wizards and there are witches, but there are also male witches. They practice the same coven, the same logic. They're not warlocks. Warlock is a different thing entirely.
No, I got you. Hey, going back to about the Iraq War and everything, think about what it did to America. It united a people to go to war, to go kill 11 million Muslims, But I want to read a passage from Leviticus to you. This is interesting, Rick. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 23. And you shall not walk in the statutes of the nation which I am casting out before you, for they commit all these things, and therefore I abhor them. Think about that, being over patriotic to a nation instead of him. You focus on, let's face it, I love the veterans and everything, but if you're going to war is an ugly thing. You're killing other people, whether it's through your bombs or your or small arm fire, tanks, missiles off of, land, cruises, aircraft cruises. Yeah. Cruise missiles coming, ICBMs and all, but it's an ugly thing. But we're not supposed to be over patriotic, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because it's taking everybody's off of God and truth, and you're in beast mode and you want to go kill somebody. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yep. Well, here we are at the end of another show. What are you looking at? You hung out for 2 hours, man. Well, minus the commercials.
Well, you minus the internet for the first 10 minutes. So I wanted to apologize to you on that. I kicked that sucker open and I had no internet, and anyway, got myself squared away. But you sound great tonight. And I know you're feeling better, man. I've been praying for you. How are you feeling, Rick?
Well, with people like you praying for me, like you said, I'm doing better. Doing a lot better.
All right.
Thanks.
And ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for tomorrow night with Shelley Lewis, Down the Rabbit Hole. Supposedly Shelley. And she's even got more than one show now, huh? As far as a show title, is it Down the Rabbit Hole?
Well, she's multifaceted. She's multifaceted. She
very much is.
Yeah. Yes. I got a response from her under another screen name today. I was, who the hell is that? My wife said, that's Shelley.
Yeah, I tell you,
she does a lot.
I would love to. She used to jump out of planes. A paratrooper, and I think that must have been an exciting time for her in her life. Hell, George Herbert Walker Bush was jumping out of planes when he was 90 years old. You remember? So
yeah.
And
but anyway, say goodnight, Mark. Thanks for joining me, buddy. Unless you want to come back. All right. Good night, Mark. We love you, bro. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
And you have
See
a
you.
wonderful night. Love you too, buddy.
By the way, we're not on till Friday. Yeah, and I'll be with you on Thursday night. So we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Good night, buddy. Good night.
All right. Good night. Thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host Mark Hollander, thanks for coming in there and joining us tonight. Thanks for listening into the Shadow Effect Show. Want to remind you to stay tuned up next for my show, the Rick Low-Tech Show, for a couple hours. And we'll find something fascinating to talk about then. And until that time, we'll see you again. Thanks for listening to the Shadow Effect Show. And thanks for watching on YouTube. Till we meet again, this is FERlive.com, The Ferret.